Okay, so today's workout is going to be based around the deadlift. It's like a deadlift, but it's mispronounced. I'm just going to add one thing, guys, and then we're going to get started.
Yeah, if I get you to stay there.
Okay, all right. All right, let's start our warm-up. We're doing reps of 10 today. Five. 7. 8. 9. 10. And the ground is a bit wet just because I was doing a lot of cleaning earlier on. We got a bad case of aphids just that season, I guess. So I don't mind the ground being a little bit wet, but that's pretty soaked. So we'll use this towel and then put it into the sun, and that should make things enough of a difference, because I don't want there's always balancing exercises that I do every day in order to stabilize my knee so that I'm able to do marathons better. So that's always a big focus. And overhead press. We're doing overhead press today. So because we're only just warming up, I'm just going to strip the bar and we'll do 20 reps. And kind of stretch out a little bit as well. 3. 10. We'll do 10 more. 15. 16. 18, 19, 20. Ugh, it's actually hard enough, to be perfectly honest. Okay. Now, because we're doing deadlifts today, we'll also be activating the gluteus maximus a lot, which is fancy pants term for your bum. So let's just get the blood flow going, activate the muscles, and kind of stretch out a little bit as well. Change over, same on your side. And you'll probably notice that this side of my leg is noticeably more flexible than my right foot. Okay. So I think we're doing cable machine today. Let me just have a look-see here. Yeah, we're doing cable machine today. So we'll get rid of this. Needs a bit of a spritzing. Waste time doing it. So not off to a great start with sometimes my tricep on my left hand side, only ever on my left hand side, for some reason, gets kind of like spasms out. It's not doing it now, but I guarantee it'll, like, what it'll do is I'll do it on this arm here, because otherwise it'll exacerbate it. It will like kind of lock out like that. Now I can still move my arm fine, but it'll like really tense up. Like the muscle itself will be a lot more kind of solid than if I aimed to flex it myself. It's really odd, but if I give it a little massage, it usually calms down. Anyway, it's 15. Today we are cable, single arm. Okay, so we're going to be doing single arm exercises today. So let's. Oh wait, no, we'll keep this on because we're going to be using it. We'll warm up with two hands, and then we'll turn it into a single arm lift. Alright. We'll just do 10 of these. Three. Seven. 8. 9. 10. Oh wait. Let me correct that angle. because you won't be able to see my face when I'm doing that, and I'm going to be doing that for a third of the whole workout, so that will not do. That shall not do. There we go. Okay, good stuff. So that is that's the bulk of the workout. What we're going to do for the whole thing. Now I'm going to add on the mobility balance stuff. What are we doing? Sorry, looking at the wrong thing here. Okay. So we do the slow-mo sprint today. So you guys can actually join in with this if you want. You don't need any gear. Very simple to do, and most importantly, this does not get you sweaty. So feel free to do this if you're just kind of hanging around your house and it's just kind of like a little kind of, oh, how hard is that actually? And it starts off easy enough, and then you get to like rep number 3, 4, 5, and it's like, oh wow, that got difficult quick. But it's good for your balance. Really good if you have any knee injuries, any kind of ankle problems, because it helps build up the stability muscles. And I call it a slow-mo sprint because you're just going through the motions of what you would do if you were sprinting, except you're doing it without any kind of momentum, which is where all the control and the support is used. And as you can see, we just go down, and then much like you're kind of sprinting out on an athletics track, that's what you're doing. Now the idea is that you are gripping the ground with your foot as if it's like a monkey hand, monkey foot. So you don't, if you're losing balance, try to hop and regain control before you like touch a second surface. Because the whole idea is that you're, see what I did there? That's what you're aiming for, to try and correct yourself with. You don't want to, hopping is okay, but ideally you want to squeeze your foot and your legs together to get yourself back on track. Do one more. I'm going to switch sides. And that really will burn the shit out of your calf, I assure you. You start off and it's dead easy, and then once you start getting tired, it escalates very, very fast as to how difficult it is. Kind of like if ever you tried to hang from a pull-up bar. You're doing fine, and then 5 seconds later, and you're in bits. It just comes out of nowhere. Okay, so change the leg. So now it's the right leg that's on the ground, left leg that's moving. You stretch it all the way out, bring it back into the center, and then once we're at the center, then we raise back up. I'll show you what to avoid now on the raise back up. So we go down, stand. What you don't want to do is you don't want to raise all the way up like that. That's the easier option. Okay, so we won't count that one. You're here, and then in this awkward position, you get yourself into this position, and then you rise back up. And you only count your repetitions, your reps, when your knee is high. So up here, that's 3. It's the 4th time that my knee has been up, but I didn't count that one because I was just using that as an example of what not to do. That's 4. We do one more. feel the lactic acid building up in the legs. Okay, so now overhead press. Let's put some weight on this. We're going to be doing heavy-ish deadlifts. So we'll add the, oh Jesus Christ, aphids everywhere. My God, it's so annoying. I'm not a gardener, so they're not going to like destroy my plants or anything like that, but once they kind of land on you, they just really make my skin crawl, and then I find it very hard to concentrate on anything. Just like very mild kind of OCD. But if you think like, you know, when you grow up hair, I'd just like to remind you of that old Chinese dropping water torture method, where, you know, they just keep dripping small amounts, and it's like a very minor version of that for me. So this is 50 kilos, which let's see, 10 reps. We can get over 55 ideally today, but this is still the warm-up, so we'll just do like 4 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can do a bit more before. Let's just go up to 6 for the warm-up. Alright, let's do pull-ups now. Sorry, not pull-ups, deadlifts. They really are everywhere. Alright, so this is 70 kilos and we're going to do 10 repetitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Seven. 9. One more. 10. And now this is cable pulls. Let's see. Oh no, banded bum wake ups. So we'll move this off, get this out of the way. And get the elastic band. Just make sure there's no hitchhikers. actually, you know what? I'm not going to need the band just yet. We're still doing the warm-up. Still warming everything up. So it probably makes more sense to do it without the band, because when you do it without the band, you get more of a stretch. And so it'd be better to stretch the legs a little bit. One. 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm just going to try and open up my hips a bit more. Now my right hip is always a little bit, well, it's always tighter than my left hip, but today it feels particularly stiff, so let's just really try and open it up, not make the situation worse. Alright, that'll do for the moment. So we'll do one more set of warming up with the with 2 hands, and then next time, third time, we'll start doing one-handed stuff. Alright. 2. 6. 9. One more. Okay, so after the cable machine, I think we do the balancing exercises. So you guys try and join in with me here. This will not get you sweaty. I promise you that. So I'm just getting rid of this towel, put it in the sun, dry it out. Okay, so join in with me here, and what we're going to be doing is a slow-mo sprint. So just imagine you're kind of like, you know, if you were playing charades and you were trying to describe someone how you'd sprint, and you'd do something like this. if you were really trying hard to be as accurate as possible to a sprint in slow motion, but you weren't allowed run, you have to stay kind of where you are. That's what we're doing. Really slow, stretch everything out, and then up you come. Rise the knee up just like you're really bolting your leg up to go as fast as possible. Slow is the name of the game because it's all about controlling and strengthening the muscles used to keep your balance. One more. Five. Okay. Other foot, same exercise. And a big part of the exercise that we're doing here is you have to make sure that you're under control at all times, that you can stop. So I always kind of think of it like, imagine you're playing the Squid Game, and it's the very first task where it's that little robot that detects if you're moving or not, and you're only allowed to run forward when the little robot doll isn't looking at you, and then you have to be perfectly still when it's turned its head. So you got to be able to stop at any point. That's how you show that you're in proper control and you're not kind of swinging your limbs around. One more. And one of the best ways to make sure that you don't lose balance in that motion and then in general is to stay really tight. That's where you're working. If ever you've heard of something called like an isometric exercise, what that means is that you're not actually moving, but you're tensing the muscles. So an example would be like, let's say I want to do an isometric movement on my chest. I would hold these two bars and try as hard as I can to squeeze them together. Now I'm not moving anything, but you're still building up strength. A plank would be another example. You're holding yourself perfectly steady and everything is squeezed together. Actually, a plank isn't a bad example because you're fighting against gravity. So, sorry, excuse that. A plank wouldn't be so much of an isometric exercise. Anyway, enough science! What's next? Deadlift? No, overhead press is next. Yeah, overhead press. So, last time we did 50 for reps of 6. Let's increase that to reps of 8 because our target for today is reps of 10 for over 55 kilograms. Get that bar up, position my hands. Something when you're working with a barbell is you always want to make sure that for whatever exercise you're doing, it's always the same hand positioning. So where the grind starts, where the grip changes, that's always a good marker. So for me, I always use my thumb, so thumbs up, and always have it at the edge of the grind. And that way, I'm always going to be in the same hand position, because if you're lifting like this, versus if you're lifting like this, it's significantly different. So just make sure that you're always consistent, and then that way you'll know if you lift heavier than the previous time that you were in the gym, you'll know without doubt that means you're progressing. Whereas if the other day you were lifting like this, it's harder to do, you know, so that you don't have an accurate result. You don't want to think you're improving, you want to know you're improving. Three. Five. Six. 7. One more. Okay, time to up the deadlift weight. So let's take this up to 90. Okay, so this is 90 kilos. And we're aiming for 10 repetitions. One. Whew. Alright, so let's strip the weights off. So we're going to be doing overhead press next. Again. So now we're gonna, this leg really needs to stretch out some more, so I'll do one more rep or one more set without using the elastic band. Already that feels looser. Okay. What's next? Cable pull. So just getting these ready. I've adopted a new system where I've made it so that I can kind of help grow my grip strength by doing no grip deadlifts up to my ability and then adding the wristbands on. So my warm up is a little bit of an exercise for my forearms in itself, and then I get to kind of get the benefits of both sides. So I get to really work my posterior train on the muscles that go down the back of the body. Trapezius muscles, your lats, your glutes, your hamstrings, everything comes on the back. Deadlift does that. It's a very, that's why people talk about them so much, is because it's, if you just did deadlifts every day, you're like, and no other kind of exercise, your body would be in pretty, like, you know, well balanced shape. There's not really another movement that kind of covers so much of the body in one sort of, for one exercise. Like, you know what I mean? A bench press, that does a lot around your arms and your chest, but like everything else, not so much. Does your glutes a tiny bit, does your core, but deadlift, I'd say you're covering 70% of the body is being worked significantly hard when you do a deadlift. 70% of all your muscles. Now, we've gotten to the point where the body is mostly warmed up. So now we're going to make this more of the working set, which is lifting with one arm. Excuse me. One. Two. Three. Four. Five. One more. Six. Change hands. One. Two. One more. Whew. That's hard going. I was finding it a bit strange that my right arm seems to be less strong than my left when I'm doing that, because I'm right-handed. Okay, cable machine, I think it's balancing is next. Yeah, slow-mo balancing. I'm just gonna stretch out my back a little bit here. Stretch out my armpit and my chest, just because I've got a bit of an issue with my latissimus dorsi where it's, I don't know, kind of sends, I wouldn't call it nerve pain because that makes it sound a lot more serious than it is, but just kind of like a bit of numbness, a bit of minor discomfort, which is something that you need to address straight away, otherwise that turns into a major problem, and then, you know, you're not able to work out properly. Always trying. Yeah, I mean, in everything, every kind of asset in life, prevention is better than cure. Always, 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 always. I'm not doing it enough lately, but flexibility training, as an example, it's annoying to do. It's boring. I don't enjoy it, but it prevents injuries by a huge margin. But the problem with it is you don't see progress. If I lift a heavy weight today and then next week lift the same weight, I'll be able to increase it either by repetitions or by adding more weight to it. And then that makes, you know, I'm motivated then to do it again because I can see that it's working. Whereas because stretching is a preventative thing to do, you don't see progress. You just don't get injured. And something that can easily happen is you'll then start prioritizing training and like all the working out and whatnot and forget about the importance, and then you get an injury and then you can't do anything. But it's the same as saving money, you know? It's not fun. But future you will thank you. And then from a business perspective, you could be there thinking like, oh, saving money isn't wise. You should be spending money on your business. Just like you should be spending your time training rather than spending your time, you know, doing stretching. You're not going to get better if you keep stretching. You're just not going to get as injured. But there's no point in not getting injured if you're not going to be able to perform on the actual day of the match or the race. If you're not strong enough, if you're not fast enough, then like, you know, who cares if you get injured? That's the kind of tricky mentality. Certainly what I have anyway, where it's like, do you want to train or do you want to stretch? And I'm always going to say train because it's like, are you at the running pace that you want? And the answer is no. So then I prioritize training. But then I do too much, get an injury, and now I'm like 2 years of recovery now at this stage, I'd say. It's been nearly 2.5 years at this stage since I was last able to take a 5k run and just open up. Just slam the feet to the ground and just go as hard as I can, fast as I can, throw caution. Okay. Overhead press now. We're doing 50 kilos and we're aiming to get up to what the working level is going to be, which is 10 repetitions. And ideally, I want to lift this over my head 10 times, but with 57, kilograms. Oh wait, I skipped something. No. I was alright. I did the cable. Actually, I'm just gonna do that exercise again without the band. Reason being is when you're doing an overhead press, if you're doing it properly, you should be squeezing your bum because it creates a solid platform for your upper body to work. And a simple example would be if you're trying to do a heavy squat, okay, here, this floor is relatively solid. I know you see that wiggle a little bit, but imagine trying to do a heavy squat on a bouncy ball. So It's not about how strong up here is. You need to be stable down here. And so that's why activating your glutes before you do an overhead press doesn't seem like it makes much sense. But when you're actually lifting and you're struggling to get the last 2 reps, it's very heavy. If you find that you are squeezing your bum really tight, it can help you get those last little bits. Another example that you can use with pretty much anything is when you're gripping a bar. It doesn't matter if it's deadlift, bench press, bicep curl, doesn't matter. Grip the fucking shit out of it. And again, you'll be holding the weight in a more solid position and you'll be able to move the weight with more control. It's harder to deal with something that's loose and kind of flops all over the place because the kind of center of gravity moves around a lot, and you don't want that. You want to be able to control. You want to be able to control gravity, which I suppose that's what weightlifting is, really, if you think about it. How much can you tell gravity to fuck off for 10 seconds? Alright, so we're aiming for 10 reps now. Body is definitely warmed up, but I always reach my kind of peak weight. I like to go up slowly, slowly, slowly. Because one, it's safe. It means you're not going to get an injury, you're not going to strain yourself. But also, it's good for your own confidence to be like, okay, I lifted 50 for 10. Maybe I'll do 52 for 10. I did 52. Okay, let's go 55. And it's just like your ability to complete a task when you know that you're very competent and that this might be just a bit too much for me, but like, you know, we've beaten teams that were, you know, nearly as good as you guys. I think we could beat you. It's that kind of mentality. But if you just go in there blind, you know, I've never played ping pong before and I'm going to go against the world's greatest. It's like, I'm not going to have a lot of confidence. But if I've never played ping pong before and I go up against, like, you know, 10 people preceding that match and it turns out that I'm a prodigy, then I'll have my confidence. Okay, 10 reps. Woo! Oh. Okay, deadlift next. And 10 raw reps. Let's go up to 100 kilos. Let's go 100 kilos and then go and then 110. God. All right, here's an example of what I'm talking about with the aphids. Look at all that, like. They are all over the fucking place. You know what I mean? Absolutely just so kind of skin tingling. Oh, oh. Before I started all this live streaming today, I literally sprayed everything down and then like gave it a kind of a coat of bleach, you know, sprayed it all over everything. I don't know if you can see it, but you can kind of see a slight discoloration on the you know, the weights here. Yeah, that's bleach. Permanent. Might be. Oh well, if it is, who cares? They're not there to be pretty. Alright, 10 reps. Alright, this is 100 kilos. Which will be a hard weight for my my grip. I've got a very weak grip. Okay. Alright, so that was okay. I reckon it's going to be quite hard increasing that to 110 and very hard to go over that. I don't know if we're going to see progression on the raw deadlift today, but that's okay. I don't expect to see progress every single day. Every other day, I would expect. So, next, now we'll start adding the band to the leg extension. Alright, other side. one arm. And I'm gonna test something out with the doing the one arm cable pull, because the reason that I want to do the one arm cable pull for less repetitions when I'm doing 10 reps for the deadlift is because deadlift focuses very much on the forearm strength and your grip strength, and I kind of want this to be different. This is focusing on my back more. It's focusing on my bicep and my my back, mid back. So let's give the forearm some rest for recovery, because it's going to be working hard there. I want to be able to get up to 110 without any assisted reps. I want to get past that, really, to be honest. That means progress, which is nice. It's great to see some progress. But I don't know if adding a wrist wrap to a single cable pull is going to work. Not quite sure. I think it will. I think it will, actually. Let's adjust this then. Let's get this done right if we're going to do it. Okay, yeah, this will work. This will work really well. Alright, good. Alright. That was good. Good to know these wraps can be done on this. This is really helpful to make really work my back and not have the hand give out and kind of cost the rest of the team some good hard work. Now, excuse me for a second, just while I check something. Okay. So what did I do last? Cable pull. So now it's balancing, I believe. Yeah, balancing. So this exercise, feel free to join in with me if you want. It's a balancing exercise. It will not get you in a sweat. You can plonk your phone down on the ground and just follow this action. So what we're going to do is a balancing exercise, which strengthens your legs, strengthens the muscles around your knee, around your ankle, which make it strengthens the muscles that are most likely to get injured, meaning that you're less likely to get injured if you do this. It'll also improve your side step and running in general, because it will make sure that your main muscles are working in an accurate way. Think of it like if you were to punch somebody with half your strength but in a really sore place on their body, like their liver, you know? That would hurt a lot more than if you were full strength into somewhere tough, like, you know, their arm. Not that a dead arm isn't sore, but you know what I mean. Three. 2 more to go. 2 more for the brain, 2 more. Okay. Overhead press. So just turn on the glutes before we get going. Other leg. Okay. And the reason that we do that before we do something that seems unrelated, such as an overhead press, is because when you're doing an overhead press, you should be squeezing your bum together, because that makes you have a strong base where you can lift a heavy object above your head. Think of it like how difficult it would be to balance on one leg and lift an object over your head versus having your feet firmly planted. So if your feet are loose like this, that's no good. Get them really solid to the ground, and, you know, like you're a soldier who's standing to attention and trying to hold in yourself from shitting your pants. You've got severe diarrhea, and you're doing a special parade in front of the the president or whoever, Taoiseach, and you gotta look the part. So let's increase this to 52 kilograms, and we're gonna increase. Oh, sorry, not increase. We're gonna do 10 repetitions. That's not 52. That's 5. Alright, this is going to be hard. This is going to require concentration, so let's put on some... Let's put on some Don't Fuck With Me music. Okay. Overhead press, 10 repetitions. This is 52.5 kilograms. Squeeze your butt cheeks together. Create a stable platform so that your missile is able to launch better. And grip the shit out of the bar. Whew. That was not easy. $55 is going to be hard. 57. I don't know if I'm going to be strong enough to do 57. I don't think we're going to see progress today. Oh well. Tomorrow's another day. By the way, if you live in the London area, or you're in the London area on the day, tomorrow, Star Wars Day, may the 4th be with you. I'm going to be doing a 10k little charity walk, dressed in about 50 t-shirts, and I'm going to be walking a map, a trail that kind of makes the shape of the Millennium Falcon. And everybody who wants to join in is more than welcome to. We're going to meet at Baker Street, near Baker Street Station, and meet at noon, meet at 12, hang around for 34 minutes, and then at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, start the walk. Okay, let's bring this up to 110. Well, let's bring it up a tiny bit more than 110 because I want to see some progress on something today. Yeah, okay. I don't normally use these, but there's a lot of kind of lighter plates. When it ends up looking like a beehive, it moves around a lot more. So let's just prevent that. Not give it the option of any kind of an excuse to not do all 10 repetitions. Alright, 10 repetitions. This will be a personal best. Not really. My grip was giving out. Have to kind of reset it. Oh well. We'll add wraps and go heavy on the legs rather than the hands for the next one. Maybe in the future I'll know to use those wrist wraps on the cable machine, and that might be the difference where I can improve on the deadlift. Anyway. Okay. One. Just stretching at my leg here. Fuck's sake. I'm starting to cramp up a bit. Alright, cable pull. Excuse me. Okay. Alright. Let's get this going. Alright. Sorry for the delay. Alright, balance exercise. Let's see, can you do this? Slow-mo sprints. Other side. Alright, overhead press. So first thing we do is we're going to get the bar up and then put the extra weights on. Alright, 55 kilos. This will not be a personal best. This will be matching what I got the last time. But this is for 10 repetitions. The progressing when I'm doing 10 repetitions is it's the hardest one. Because 6 repetitions, if you increase that by a kilo, think about it, 6 repetitions all in one kind of go. You're actually kind of increasing the weight by 6 kilos because you've got to do the reps 6 times. Whereas with 10, if you increase it, you're multiplying that small weight by 10. So it's a lot more significant to increase when you're doing 10 reps by a small amount. Consider it like this. Imagine how hard it is to walk 5 kilometers with a heavy backpack. Now imagine how hard it is to walk a marathon with a heavy backpack. You know? There's 4.5 5k runs in, 8.5 5k runs within a full marathon. But I can assure you, carrying a big backpack is far harder than 8.5 times harder. I'd much sooner do the 5Ks. Anyway, enough blabbering. Enough talking shite. Shut up and lift the fucking weights. 10 reps. That's not going to be safe to do tonight. I know it. I know that's not safe to do tonight. right there, some of you probably wouldn't vocalize it, but I imagine some of you might think, ah, that's a failure. I assure you it's not. I really wanted to lift that 10th rep, but I felt I was putting too much of a curvature in my back and it wouldn't be safe, so I didn't do it. And it's hard to do that when you're in front of a crowd. It's hard to accept failure in front of a crowd, but I assure you, the more you are able to do that with confidence, a minor amount of upset, you know, where it's like, oh, fuck, I want to do better. It's important to know when it is safe to end things. Otherwise you end up with, you know, back problems and shit like that. Now, this is for the average Joe Soap. If you want to end up being one of the greatest athletes of all time, some would argue very much so about what I just said, and some would say, no, you got to take the chance. You got to take the chance, otherwise you'll never be the best. If you don't take that risk, you'll never be the best. But, you know, you could look at it two ways. You could say, like, you know, you'll never be the fucking best. You'll never be the champion of the world if you keep injuring yourself. There's so many cases of, you know, MMA athletes that, athletes in general, but I think MMA, you see it more, you physically see it more, where, you know, they get one injury and then they come back and they're just not the same. They're not the same as they were. And they were looking like they were going to be number one, and now they're just not. And there's a sadness to that, because it's kind of like it's the what if of the world, you know. No one wants to see like that McGregor fight where he was fighting against it wasn't Cowboy Cerrone, it was Dustin Dustin Poirier, and he broke his shin. Whatever your opinions are about, like, Conor McGregor, I think most people would have a similar sort of feeling as to some of his behaviour of late. But no one wants to see a fight like that that's so hyped up end with just, like, you know, a leg breaking, you know? You want to see the result of, like, you know, here's him, he's put that much training in, here's this guy, he's put that much training in, let's see what, you know, who ends up on top, rather than just like, oh, well, there's a broken break and that's the end of the fight. You know, that's not what you want to see. Anyway, I'm gonna see what I mean about the skin crawling issue. Ugh. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a day. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna do my heavy deadlifts with wraps. That's what I'm gonna do. There's one more thing to do, and then we'll call that a day. Alright, let's see what we had for deadlift with the wraps. So this is 140 kilos, and I would like to end with something on my workout list to have been an improvement. It's nice for the self-esteem. It's nice to always see some small bit of progress in at least one of the workouts, the exercises. But something I want to make sure of is this is my desire to win battling with my ego. It's good to win, winning is fun, but also I want to make sure that this is not an ego trip. This is not my mind saying, hey, you know, you had a day off yesterday, you didn't make any improvements yesterday, you need to make some improvements today. You know, you need to be stronger on one thing. I'm trying to battle with that ego because especially with 10 reps. 10 reps are is where injuries happen, because usually if you're kind of like, you know, oh, I can't quite do that last 10th rep, you can usually get into poor posture to finish that last 10th rep, or do something stupid and hurt your back, hurt a muscle, strain a muscle. Whereas if you're doing something for like 6 reps, it's often a lot safer, because it's just like, oh, can't do that today, and that's it. Whereas when you get into doing stuff for reps, willpower, and sort of pushing through the pain, that becomes a factor, which is, you know, good for some things to be able to push past that. But when you're lifting a big heavy weight like this, it can be bad for you. So I have to be listening. I want to win. I want to get a victory today, but I also want to make sure that I am not letting my ego get the better hand. I know, very hard to kind of distinguish, well, isn't wanting a victory, isn't that you feeding your ego in itself? And I suppose you have to have a little bit of that if you want to get really good at something. You have to feed him nibbles. You have to give your ego little nibbly treats. All right, 10 reps. Ten reps. Ten. Okay, we ended on a high. I'll mark that down in the book. Okay, everybody. Thank you all very much for joining in and kind of doing the support with just your being there with your presence. It makes a difference. It really does. I know it kind of sounds like, you know, when actors, they kind of make fake gratitude in speeches, but they actually mean fucking none of it. That really makes a big difference. So thank you all for joining in, and I will see you again soon.